Hello YouTube, Heir of Carthage here, and what the crap is going on? I have several replays for you, 4 to be precise. I'm not sure if I'll do this in one video or two, so if you see all 4 of them here, then lucky you, you get them all in one. If I have a couple in one and a couple in another, then stay tuned, because that means there's more heading your way. Not quite sure how I'm going to break it up yet, but I will go ahead and commentate them all at once. This is in the Usui Pass, or whatever you call it. This is obviously one of those kind of ridge maps where there's the highest elevation in the center, and both players either rush to it or come up with another plan. But you can see that the very center point of this map is not the highest elevation either. There's higher ground out to the far sides on either side. There's also key buildings located on either side and one in the center. Let me show you the army I brought. The reason I'm showing you this video is because there's a certain tactic I use in it that I think would be good knowledge for you. I'm using a couple of unveteran black bears on this flank. There they go. I do have an Armstrong gun, which is very expensive. It's always a risky unit to bring. I've got 2 Yariki and an Imperial Guard Cav. And then here's Pastor Cogburn back here. My infantry in this sector is consistent of an Imperial Infantry. This is my 150 ranged Imperial Infantry, so it's a 9 chevron. I've got my U.S. Marines here. This is Patch Semper Fi. There they go. And over to this direction I have a couple of experienced White Bears. And then right here I'm using a unit that I don't use very often, which is a Ki Hitai unit. Nothing spectacular as far as the stats go, but I do believe that their morale is better and they reload faster because they have a different type of reloading rifle. They don't reload it from the muzzle. I guess you call it a breech. I don't know, but I'm not super familiar with firearms. In any case, you can see the setup I'm using here. I'm not running all the way to the crest, and the reason I'm not running all the way to the crest is because my opponent is using a rush build. Now, this is a very dangerous build, and I'm going to put it in slow motion for just a second so you can kind of catch everything that's going on. It's a dangerous build, so whenever I first saw it, I freaked out and was trying to come up with a defense. The best defense for a rush is a laddered approach, or I call it the hook and ladder. That's actually a play from American football. Called the hook and ladder, but it's a little bit different, obviously, than in football. But you'll see what I mean by hook and ladder and why I call it the ladder. It's mainly because of the position I take. So my opponent has his army kind of in odd positions. He's running to try and take these key buildings, which is good. You can see my artillery here firing towards his cavalry. I'm trying to kill some of his cavalry in order to even those odds, because I believe, numerically speaking, he has more cav than I do. So he's got a saber cav there, 2, a Yariki. He's got a bow key here, another saber cav, a Yariki, and another bow key. So my opponent has a lot. And then the rest of his infantry, I think he has a Bokachi, 3 white tiger force, several katana kachi, and then a couple of Yari kachi. So my opponent has a melee heavy build. If he used his white tiger force to properly basically act as a meat shield, and then get his saber cav and melee units in, he could easily dispatch my army. And he's got enough Yariki to keep my my cav busy while he was able to do so. I am capturing the morale shrine though, and that's going to make things a lot tougher for my opponent. Anyway, I'm going to target this Yariki. I believe it's this one. No, it's this one that I just targeted. You can see that I got a solid hit and killed a great number of them. This causes them to charge, which this was very premature by my opponent. He should not have charged. So that unit is going to get completely broken and chased out. In the center, my opponent starts skirmishing and then also makes a Yariki charge over here. I countercharge. My Yariki are upgraded. His are not. Mine will easily win that fight. His charge in the center, he's using his bow key to skirmish, but the thing is, he's got a saber cav coming right behind with no infantry support, so he should have used some more troops to get my guys busy. My guys did just fire, but they're going to have time to reload, plus I have this other unit here to help out. Saber cav is just way too slow to make a frontal charge like this. They're going to get shot to bits, and here you can see just that happening. These guys are going to get absolutely creamed. The ones that do get there alive will get a pretty fair number of kills, especially considering they're getting hammered by bow key also. But my general and my Yariki is going to quickly chase these guys out. And then his bow key is actually getting shot by my my units as well, so he's taking losses. On this flank, I'm already starting to set up my hook and ladder that I described. So what you're going to see is I'm going to leave one unit out front to get first shots, and then I'm going to have several layers behind in order to lay down supporting fire from when they retreat. So here comes that regrouped Yariki. It's going to get hammered again. Look, here's my Imperial Guard Cav. This is all part of the ladder, which means multiple lines of fire. So his guys never even make it to my guys alive. And so once again, I'm going to start resetting the ladder formation as soon as I chase those guys out. I've got another ladder set up right here. I had these guys, and then these ones were the ones out front drawing the attack. And then I have multiple lines of fire to hit the melee units as they chase me. So they cannot choose all 3 targets, which means they're going to get fired on. So since my opponent is not doing the appropriate disruption, it allows me to hit him with multiple lines of fire and chase him out extremely quick. So let's watch this flank over here. I can see another impending melee charge heading my way, plus there's Saber Cav hidden over here. So once again, look, I'm setting up a classic ladder here. See this diagonal ladder with the Imperial Guard Cav in the back because they can shoot over the heads of my men safely. Here in the center, all of his units just get absolutely shot to bits. And I'm also firing artillery at his bow key, which are shooting at some of my men. Over here, I see his general and a White Tiger force. Because of the terrain, his White Tiger force isn't really able to get off any good shots, and White Tiger force is just really weak. It's a good meat shield unit, but it's not good for much else. So I'm going to charge right through it and get after his general's unit. So here's the general unit under attack by my Yariki, and they will not do so good against Yariki, because the Yariki has the bonus verse cav. So there they are, duking it out with my men. See if we can watch any of them get killed here. Is that the general? I think that might be the actual general. I'm not sure. Check out those guys going at it. Anyway, so that's what's happening there. Check out this flank. My ladder formation is now being put into use, so watch this Saber Cav get cut down. So the Saber Cav gets completely killed. The next Saber Cav is incoming, so I go ahead and start running my Ki Hitai back. But again, I have the ladder formation, and I'm going to reset the ladder starting right here with my Ki Hitai. So now this Saber Cav is going to run into double line fire. So here it is. It's going to get completely destroyed. Here comes his melee units, and they're going to run into the same thing. So you have to keep your units also in defensive formation for this to work. So the Shogutai is getting hit from my first unit. I then retreat. My Ki Hitai is now in position to be able to fire again. And then this unit right here, my other White Bear's firing. I'm going to retreat my Imperial Guard Cav and just repeat. So it's shoot, retreat, repeat, basically. Some of you would say, oh, that's kiting, that's cheap. Well, whenever you're going to fight as a rifle army against a melee army, this is the way that it's done. At least this is the way that it's done if you hope to win. So if you stand there and take a melee army head-on in one long line, you're going to die, especially if your opponent does it properly. Now, my opponent makes numerous mistakes here. He had plenty of units to do disruption, and that is the way to kill this ladder formation, is to either ignore the ladder, because it does require a lot of troops, or you use disruption units to get them focused one place while they get crushed from another. But you can see that my formation did work there. Once again, let me show you an overhead so you get an idea. Again, multiple lines of fire. 1, 2, 3, and then my general would make 4. So multiple lines of fire. So it makes any frontal assault impossible, basically, and then you retreat the front units and allow the back units to shoot, and then likewise, you just keep retreating and allowing a unit to fall back in position. You can see me exercising it here as my Ki Hitai run away from this Yarikachi. The unit gets shot up by my White Bears who are there to support. So this is the way that you can chase out melee armies if you have your troops set up in the right place to do it. At this point, it's more of a mopping up procedure for me. My opponent is pretty much dead. My artillery does get like 100 kills in this battle, but it's insignificant really in the grand scheme of things. It didn't really knock out one of his most important units or anything. The biggest thing my artillery did is I think it made my opponent attack me too soon. And if he would have had more time to consider his attack, he perhaps would have gotten a better attack. But anyway, he attacks me kind of premature. Here he's going to charge my cavalry because he doesn't want them hitting them in the back. He doesn't really have a whole lot of, chance at this point, so it doesn't really matter what he does. To be honest, it's time for him to just run out the battle, which he does in an honorable fashion. So since he's clicked an attack order on my cav, I run back through my rifles, and then let my rifles just clean out these melee units. Their morale is so low at this point that it's just going to take a volley, and this White Tiger force routed as well. And I honorably just killed a whole bunch of them with my my Armstrong gun. Anyway, let's go check out the results screen. So I think the lesson to be learned here is my opponent's army was a good idea. It was just poorly executed. And I'm not saying that to be mean to him, it's just the truth. Whenever you have an army like he did, he's got enough killing power in that Saber Cav, the Katana Kachi, the Yari Kachi. He's got a ton of killing power, and then the White Tiger Force makes an excellent meat shield unit, because not only is it going to get up there and take the shots, it's going to shoot back at least a little bit. So it's not going to do a lot, but it's going to do a little bit. So what he should have done was use that White Tiger Force to get my men shooting, and then he should have came in from an angle with the Saber Cav, and then right behind the White Tiger Force is where he should have started running up his Katana Kachi. So basically at that point I would have Saber Cav coming from one direction, melee troops from the front, and it leaves me in a bad position. But that's why I set up those lines of fire like I did, so that at least it would maximize my potential to return fire on my opponent in case that's what he had done. So you can see how effective my strategy was, especially since my opponent did not do it quite the way he should have. It immediately routed his men and gave me a massive victory. There's the stats. See that many of my units got over 100 kills. Let's head on to the next battle. Alright, here's the second battle. This is like the Bayou Basin or something. I don't remember what they called it. I don't remember what the name of this thing is, but let's put it in slow motion. I gotta show you some stuff real quick. So this is an interesting map because as you look at it from this standpoint, I can't get like a real good overhead view because I don't have the unrestricted camera, but there's ridges that run parallel in between the players here. So you got this ridge, this one, and this one. It creates two kind of channels here in the center of the map, which means that reinforcements are blocked on either side by this main hill, and then wide flanking maneuvers can be made safely around the sides of these hills here. But, like I said, line of fire is blocked by those, and artillery fire is also choked up a little bit by these trees that run down this ridge. It makes it hard for the artillery to fire over these trees without hitting them, because artillery will hit trees in this game. I have 3 extremely tough units that I'm using over on this flank. I've got an Imperial Infantry with 150 range. I've got my Imperial Guard Infantry here. They don't have 150 range, but a very tough unit. And then I've got my Royal Marines here. This is Her Majesty's Patchy Regiment. So they're going to go capture this morale shrine. I've got Patchy behind them. I have an Imperial Guard Cav and 3 Yariki. In my infantry, I've got a White Tiger Force for just as a crap unit, basically, to take up some funds. And then I've got a couple of White Bears here in the center with fair upgrades. You can see their stats there. It's like 64 reload, 50 accuracy, 55 accuracy on that one. And then I've got a couple of Black Bears over here with no upgrades that are going to hold my right flank. And I'm supporting them with this Yariki, because I see that my opponent has a Cav blob. He's got 3 elite infantry on this flank, similar to what I'm doing, but then he has a Cav blob over here. And look at this column formation. Now, had I brought artillery, this would be about the most wonderful, tempting target I've ever seen. In this kind of formation, almost every shot I have would hit. So using this many Cav, the last thing you want to do is blob them. So this video will focus a little bit on some cavalry tactics. Using a lot of Cav can be effective, but when you blob them, it makes it really easy for your opponent to kill them, and also it makes them easier for them to be countered. So although there's a lot of them and they're strong, when you put them all in one place, it makes it easier for your opponent to use a combined arms approach to kill them. So he's got 2 Carbine Cav and 2 Imperial Guard Cav running up here, and then he's also got 2 Yariki that he's going to be pulling out of the woods. So again, look at my opponent running these forward, and my defense is simple. I'm going to lure them forward. I'm going to try and position these units. Now, I gave them some bad orders, so they're not quite positioned, ready to shoot yet. I'm going to use these Black Bear Infantry to absorb the charge of any of his melee Cav. And I'm going to use a couple of Yariki to countercharge his, and I'm going to run 1 Yariki around the flank and hit his Shooter Cav, because his Shooter Cav won't be very good in melee against my Yariki. So I get my guys almost positioned here. They're not positioned real great. This unit doesn't even get any shots off at the incoming Yariki. Again, though, look at the Cav blobbing going on by my opponent. He's not clicking individual orders very well. So all I do is wait. His charge is wasted on my men. I countercharge, and then here comes my Yariki into all of the Shooter Cav. So now his Shooter Cav is going to get ripped apart over here by my Yariki, and his Yariki in the center are going to get ripped up. And I'm also reinforcing with infantry. At this point, my opponent leaves a gap open, and I'm going to shoot that gap. Here, his artillery hit some of my Imperial Guard Cav, but I shoot this gap right here, and I'm going to make a run right for his artillery. I should have run a little further out and around, but his general is going to try and shoot me here. This is a good defense, but I'm just going to make a beeline for his artillery. His artillery is like I said, probably, let's see, it's an Armstrong gun with decent upgrades. This is probably about 1600 koku, but this was a gambit that I ended up losing, and that was 1,000 koku Imperial Guard cav. So it was a good idea on my part, it's just that I didn't execute it quite well enough. So my opponent only made off with just 3 losses to his artillery, but you can see over here, the fight did not go so well for my opponent when it came to the cavalry portion, and I'm going to be able to chase his guys out. At least I think I do. My guys actually probably rout out here. Yeah, that's kind of weird how that all worked out. Anyway, I rout most of his cav, even though this one kind of got lucky and came back and got a hold of my guys. But I routed his for the most part. I'm going to keep chasing them. His general comes up. This is going to give me a chance to attack his general. My attack on his general isn't successful, unfortunately. My guys have plenty of men left, but their morale starts to get all funky. Even though they've got almost as good a morale as that general, they rout. And it may have been because this unit right here, the Imperial Guard Infantry, might be inspiring these other units nearby. Plus, he had a rally going on. Once again, though, I see an opportunity to take out my opponent's, what do you call it, his artillery. So I'm keeping his forces busy here, knowing that I'll probably lose this fight. I'm going to slam into the back of this regroup carbine cav that my opponent should have had ready. I'm going to quickly dispatch them and just charge straight into the artillery at this point, which is already wavering before I even touch it, just due to the proximity of my men. So here goes an expensive Armstrong gun. My opponent lost his cav blob. This is his last unit, this carbine cav coming at me. So I'm going to hit these guys quick and run away and try and regroup behind a hill and get a chance to attack this carbine cav. Though that plan, I almost get it, it doesn't really end up working out just because, you know, the cav reloads pretty quick in this game. But you can see how my men are kind of taking cover behind that hill. And then as his guys get closer, I'm going to turn around and cycle charge back into his men. Unfortunately, his men were reloaded, and they're going to kill my cav without me being able to get any substantial kills on him. Over here, I end up losing the fight on this flank, but the price that my opponent paid to earn this flank was pretty high. He ended up having to commit his whole army over here, so look, all of his elite troops have come over here, and this unit of Imperial Guard infantry got really shot up. He hasn't taken really any losses in these yet, and his general got shot up. So my opponent paid a heavy price, lost basically all 6 units of his cav. He's got little tattered remnants of this one. His Armstrong guns did come back from routing, but for some reason he doesn't end up using them very effectively from here on out. So they've come back from routing. I'm just not sure if he doesn't notice them or what. But he should have immediately got these guys back on the guns and pulled back because I have more men than he does. However, my opponent continues to press the attack. And because he's pressing the attack, this is going to give me time to reinforce. I've got my White Bear infantry pulling up here. And then I've got all 3 of my elite infantry facing off with his Imperial Guard infantry here. So I'm going to pull back for the safety of this hill. So my men are going to get shot a little more here, but like I said, my opponent should not be pressing the attack because this is just me luring him into a bad situation. So say like right here where his guys move forward, this is going to open up his flank to my my Royal Marines, and that is not a unit that you want on your flank. And my opponent recognizes this here and probably clicks an attack order or something because these guys start moving, but it's way too late. They're running so slow and they're tired on this hill that they're just going to get absolutely shot to bits. Same thing happened to his Imperial Guard infantry over here. It got double teamed and wasted. Here comes my Royal Marines, going to open up on these guys, and this is going to be ugly indeed. These are also Royal Marines. So we got British killing other British here. Kind of a Civil War type scenario, I guess. But in any case, his Royal Marines are just going to get absolutely shot to death by mine. And not even all my guys have crested the hill where they can shoot, so this will give you an idea of just how quick these elite units can shoot. We'll watch them reload here. You can see that they just kind of sit there for a second with their gun and then shoot again. So definitely a quick reload. So his Royal Marines are gone. This last unit that he has here is another Imperial Guard infantry, which is going to get shot to death by my White Bear infantry. His Imperial Guard infantry technically has better stats, but they had already taken some losses. They did get a lot of kills. You can see the number of kills that his guys got here.
Is assured, sir.
Anyway, good game to my opponent. Hope you understand there some better cavalry tactics. So my opponent, number 1, didn't maximize his artillery. So even though he had all that cavalry, he should have used it to kind of harass my guys and keep them at bay, rather than making an early charge at one of my flanks. There was just no reason for that. He could have sat back with his artillery and just gunned the living crap out of me. With that many shooter cav, he could have also harassed me much more effectively. Moved it further to the flanks, keep my guys turning, spread out my cavalry because he had better numbers. He could have done a lot more damage with that kind of cav. Whenever you bring a lot of cav, you also have to bring a lot of micro to the battle. Otherwise, your cav blob becomes relatively easy to stop. So that's just some advice from me as far as what you should do as far with cavalry tactics. Don't blob them up, and keep your eyes open. You don't want to let them get standing still, because usually when you bring a lot of cav, it can be a very powerful strategy, but it also can turn against you rather quickly if you blunder it. Which, I mean, I've done stuff like that before. But hopefully you all learn a lesson from that. Here are the results. Check out the unit statistics just real quick. Nothing real special going on here. Like I said, you can see that this Imperial Guard infantry got a ridiculous number of kills. Anyway, let's head to the next battle. Alright, YouTube, here we are for the next battle. This is the Daisuwan Basin. Classic map from Shogun 2. This battle is also going to demonstrate some important cavalry knowledge, basically, for how you should be using in the battle, and then also how to utilize the terrain to the best of your advantage. This map is essentially a choke point. Not exactly, but basically. And the reason I'm saying that is if you look at the terrain elevation right here in this main alley, it's all the same elevation. It slowly slopes up into the hills at the back of the map here. Any flank attacks or cavalry assaults from the flank are going to have to go up this hill, and this is a steep elevation. And also usually is bottlenecked by these rocks that you can see here. So the Daisuwan Basin is a map where a lot of frontal firepower or melee power in a melee fight is very important, because this is going to be a head-on match usually when you fight, which is another reason why I brought artillery, because in a head-on match like this, the artillery can do good at blasting up some of the key enemy units. My guys are trying to fire here, but my guys keep walking in front of the cannons. Fortunately, CA has patched it to where I'm not going to blast a whole bunch of my own guys. However, my opponent's parrot guns just landed a really solid hit right there. And of course, that's what my artillery is going to be firing at, is his parrot guns. They're finally going to be able to fire. We'll follow my shots here. You can see that I did get some direct hits there. Killed 3 of his artillerymen. I do have his parrot guns outranged, so his parrot guns are not in range of my guns. So my opponent's just going to fire at my general. He's going to fire at my, there you can see he's firing at my general. He's going to fire at my general. He's going to fire at my infantry. Just try and get as many kills as he can before my Armstrong guns kill him, which they will do. You can see he's gotten 41 kills. The parrot gun, he spent quite a lot of money on this particular parrot gun, though. So you can see there those guys getting blasted again. And just over and over again, my artillery is going to hammer him. And the Armstrong gun, because it's a breech loader, reloads much quicker than the parrot gun, which is a muzzle loading cannon. So that's the main disadvantage of the parrot gun. It isn't really the range or anything, because you can upgrade the range. The biggest problem with the parrot gun is definitely the reload. Alright, so his parrot gun is wavering at this point. Let me explain my strategy here. So I've got 2 Tosa rifles up front. I want the range of these guys, and they're pretty good accuracy, to lay down some suppressive fire from long range. This is going to hopefully draw my opponent in. Once it draws him in, I will have a couple of unveteran units of black bears here, and these guys will be used to help clean up the fight that the Tosas start. And then starting from there, I've got 3 good veteran units backing them up, 1 black bear, and then 2 very elite units. I've got my French Marines here, which I rarely bring, but there they are. It's Le Shootiste. And then I've got Patch Semper Fi here. So, and then behind them I've got a unit of Spear Levy just to help guard my rear against an enemy cav attack. It's easy to do in this map since there's so many choke points. And then I've got 2 units of Yariki, and then old Patchter Cogburn out here hiding from the enemy artillery, which is now dead. Now at this point I have changed my target with my Armstrong guns to his cavalry on the flanks. And that's because my opponent possesses a cavalry advantage at this point, and I want to take that advantage away from him. I am forcing him forward. You can see he's the red on this map. And you can see I am all bottled up in the main valley here, and so it looks like my opponent's going to be outflanking me. Now one thing he's not doing is he's not actually capturing these key buildings, which he should have been doing, because there's an archery dojo on the other side that would have been a huge advantage to my opponent. If he would have started capturing this, he probably could have captured it, and that would have made a huge difference in the battle. So let's see how my strategy works. I'm now going to be firing at the center of his line, which is where he's got some Royal Marines and a Black Tortoise Force or something. I'm firing at the Royal Marines, but your shots always aim at like the right side of the unit that you're looking at whenever you're looking, you know, head on. But some of my shots will land here. So you're going to see my Armstrong guns just start to waylay these guys. So I do use Armstrong guns sometimes. I really don't like artillery on this game, though. Artillery on Empire Total War was cool. Artillery on Napoleon Total War was okay, but definitely borderline annoying, because it didn't have, like, I don't know, there's just a lot of things about the artillery that should have been better on Napoleon. And then artillery on this one has been worse than all of them. So here, he brings in a feudal cav charge to try and kill my artillery. This is going to get completely shut down by my men. And then up front, my opponent begins his assault. At least he's timing it with his flank charge to try and keep my attention busy, but I've got my Tosas all spread out. They're going to open fire on his 125 range unit here, and you can see that they're going to easily kill about 30 units. These guys reload very quickly, so they're going to get a couple of shots before his guys even get position. But even still, his guys have more than mine when the fight begins, so I'm going to pull the Tosa rifles out, and I'm going to move my Black Bears into position. These Black Bears are going to take a pretty good whaling getting into position, but I did soften up this Imperial Guard infantry quite a lot with my Tosa riflemen, and so this is going to cause them to be in an extremely bad position. These Black Bears will reload significantly slower than his elite units here. This is a Black Tortoise Force, not real worried about them. You can also see I have once again targeted my artillery right down the center to try and bust the morale of his men even quicker. And you can see that where it's possible, my Tosa rifles are firing over my men or through them. They will not shoot your own men in the back, which is kind of a nice addition that CA put in there for us, because in real life, you know, of course you wouldn't want to be shooting your own guys in the back. But you can see that up front I've got a pretty substantial amount of firepower. There goes his Imperial Guard infantry. His Black Tortoise Force is wavering. Right here he's got his Royal Marines facing off with my White Bears. Now this is a fight that his Royal Marines would normally win, but I've also got these Black Bears, and my Tosa rifles are firing from back there as well. So look, I've got several arcs of fire all the way up on these guys, so his Royal Marines get absolutely shredded, plus the artillery fire, and they go ahead and rout. Again, when I talked about the cavalry, you can see that my opponent was not able to maneuver his cavalry in such a way that he could really effectively get into my back lines, which is why you probably shouldn't spend as much money on cavalry as my opponent did. He had 2 Shogunate Guard cav, and he had a Carbine cav and a Yari key. It's just too many, and you're not going to be able to effectively use them on this map unless you have a better plan than this. So his guys got pinned down by my cav and the spear levy. They do pretty well, all things considered. And especially with the assistance fire from his United States Marines back here. But at this point, my opponent has been hopelessly damaged, and I've got several units up here just blasting away at these Azure Dragon Force, and these guys are going to go down. Also, they're shooting at his general, or hitting his general. His U.S. Marines are running up on the flank. I'm going to charge them with Spear Levy just to kind of pin them down, and then I'm reallocating a unit of White Bear Infantry to help take out this U.S. Marine. So by the time the Marines kill my Spear Levy, which they will kill the Spear Levy, whether it's in melee or by shooting them, the Spear Levy is not any good at all, period, except for against Cav. You can see that my guys get plenty of time to fire, plus my Patch Semper Fi is firing from back there as well, and so it's going to help wipe out this U.S. Marine unit, which is basically the last unit that my opponent has standing. So these guys are now wavering. You can see them reforming there, and then just getting shot out, so they're now shattered. Enemy general routes. The only unit he has left is this Azure Dragon Force, which who knows how that thing came back from routing out of all units, but they're going to quickly get cut down as well. Good game to my opponent. Hope you understood the tactics here. So I was prepared for a very high power frontal fight. That's why I brought the extra ranged units. That's also why I brought the artillery. Again, I'm trying to plan my army based on the map. My opponent's army was a little too cav heavy for this kind of map. Now, if he was going to bring cav on this map, he probably should have brought Boki. Just a couple of them or something, like if he wanted to bring some extra, because they can fire over that terrain and pick at my men. Now, the problem is that when he lost that artillery duel, my Armstrong gun would absolutely wreak havoc in that kind of open field environment. So he should have either been prepared to rush or to fight harder for that artillery duel. Sometimes when you get an artillery duel, even if you lose it, you'll basically beat the crap out of the other person's artillery and kind of nullify it. But I mean, artillery in this game, I can't blame my opponent for that. The artillery in this game is pretty stupid. It's fun on single player, but it's really a nuisance in multiplayer. They should have done the artillery to where it wasn't quite so accurate and didn't cost so much, and then maybe allow you to bring one or two of them, so it'd have a little bit neater feel to it, because you can only bring one, so it never feels like much, and it's just ludicrously accurate. So I definitely don't like the feel of the artillery in this game, and as you can see, my artillery did get a ludicrous number of kills in that battle, 147. I've seen them get way more than that, though. I mean, in fact, I think I've got a battle recorded that I win where I lost like 400 men to his Armstrong guns. The artillery is way too accurate. Anyway, good game to my opponent. Hope you enjoyed that one. I do have one more fight for you, and I think you'll like this one too. Alright, this last fight is on the Hokiku crossing, which I played recently. And this is a classic Shogun 2 battle, so this is melee avatars versus each other, rather than or I say melee avatars, I mean, my avatar is a leader avatar, but you know what I mean. This is the Sengoku period Japan, not the Civil War era that's represented in Fall of the Samurai. So this is Sengoku period. Thought you would enjoy this, and some of you have been asking me for some classic play, which is fine. I definitely enjoy the classic play. And this map, like I said, is pretty well balanced, except for if the key buildings happen to spawn like kind of randomly unbalanced, which they don't all the time, but sometimes they do. Like sometimes there'll be a morale shrine on one side and like a farmhouse on the other, but most of the time this map is kind of a fun one because it's got plenty of terrain, it's symmetric, and it's usually a pretty good fight. So let me show you the army that I've got. I've got 2 Nagi attendants, a matchlock warrior monk, 2 Nodachi samurai, 3 Naginata samurai, 2 sword attendants, my general, and a long Yari Ashigaru. My cavalry is 3 Yari cav, 1 was hidden from the beginning, and 2 bow cav, sorry. And my opponent, I can automatically see 1 Yari cav over here, so I know that he's got a hidden contingent in these woods. His main infantry body is 2 matchlock samurai, 4 Yari Ashigaru, 2 katana samurai, and a katana hero. My opponent has spent a lot of money on Yari Ashigaru. These guys get pretty expensive when you upgrade them, and unless you use them right, they're very easy targets for bows just because they have almost no armor. These guys will get shredded. But considering the cost of these Yari Ashigaru, I only have to assume that my opponent has more than just cavalry hidden in these woods. Either that or he's got a whole horde of cavalry hidden in the woods. Because if you look at the power bar up here, the enemy has more units than me. So I know that he's got a hidden contingent in these woods. I just don't know exactly what it is yet. So I have a ranged advantage with my bow cav. My opponent doesn't have any archers visible. So I'm going to push up and I'm going to start unloading onto these matchlock samurai. These are the guys that I want to kill first. Now my opponent could have pulled these guys back, or better yet, he should have just pushed forward. And I think he could have used these guys effectively if he would have engaged my infantry with blocky Yari Ashigaru formations with a little space in between each one. Because that little space in between each one would have allowed his matchlock samurai to start busting my men who kind of seep through. Because of the new mechanics with matchlock, that's actually a very effective way to go. My opponent does not do that though, and so I'm just going to sit here and continuously keep picking at these matchlock samurai. The shots that miss will hit these Yari Ashigaru, and you can see that 13 of them already dropped. So my opponent is really in a bad shape because all of these are soft targets, and bow cav excels against soft targets. They have quick reload, high accuracy, and they will just absolutely get tons of kills on soft targets like this. So my bow cav's going to just continuously rain down some murder on these guys. Now the fire at will mechanisms of mounted cav is a little funny, so you kind of have to keep moving them around or keep clicking attack orders, which is why every now and then you'll see a slight break in my my firing. So you do have to keep an eye on your bow cav and actively maintain them. So I've gotten 40 kills on that matchlock unit and 30 kills on this Yari Ashigaru. And then, I mean, it's just a lot of kills that my bow cav are going to rack up here. And my opponent really should be attacking me since he doesn't have the ranged advantage, because the longer he sits back, just the more kills I'm going to get. And to take this many losses to bow cav is really unnecessary. Especially considering that my opponent has more men than me. He can kind of hold my bow cav at bay while he performs an attack. So here comes his Yari cav. He's going to chase off my bow cav. This is a fairly sound idea, except for the fact that he can't chase me too far. And the reason I say that is because if he comes across this water, his guys are going to get slowed down. I'm going to have plenty of time to countercharge him with my own superior Yari cav, which mine is superior to his. All of mine are upgraded. I believe he has one unit that's not. and his other ones, he's not upgraded the attack. He's upgraded the morale and some other things, which was not the smartest way to upgrade them. So here you can see my bow cav are going to start picking at his Yari cav. This is going to tick him off, and my opponent is going to make a major blunder here by charging his Yari cav over. They never had a chance of catching me, and they don't have a chance of winning. Never, ever, ever take an engagement that you know you're going to lose. So my opponent makes a big mistake here. Bow cavalry just has this kind of effect, and always has in every Total War game, of causing someone to act rashly. And when it does, that's the main reason why I bring bow cav. Not because it just sits there and kills the crap out of the enemy, but just because it usually causes them to make some kind of fatal mistake like this, because people don't like being picked at by bow cav. So I guess it's kind of a gut reaction to do what everybody does. But you can see here my Yari cav's going to easily win. So now, not only does my opponent not have the ranged advantage, he now does not have the cav advantage. So he is in exceedingly bad shape at this point. So my opponent made some definite mistakes there. So now it's my game to lose, and I'm going to move forward and start to push some pressure on my opponent to try and draw him off this hill. I could attack him up the hill and probably win, but I want to make sure that I don't get hit by any hidden surprises that he's still got in these woods, because I'm sure that he still has units hidden. So I'm going to push up my bow cav once again, and I love the name of these guys. It's very appropriate for this battle, Riding Nuisance. So that's all they've really been, is a nuisance, and it's causing my opponent to make some bad decisions. So I'm going to pull these guys up and let them open up with some more volleys. And you can see they're going to quickly start shredding this Yari Eshigari, which is down almost to half strength. And his Matchlock Samurai is down beyond half strength. At this point, my opponent springs the rest of his hidden troops, which is 3 Naginata Samurai and a Yari Hero. This unit right here, the Yari Hero, is just a bad idea altogether. Don't ever use the Yari Hero. I mean, unless your opponent brings cav spam, it's worthless. So just don't bring a Yari Hero. I'm just going to tell you that. CA needs to patch the Yari Hero because it's completely and utterly worthless. Or just get rid of it because there's no point. Here's my guys in the little Cantabrian circle thing. You can see them getting caught up on each other, and I think one of them actually shot. So yeah, I probably should have scooted them apart a little. Some of you may be wondering why I was even using the little swooping crane. It's because it increases your accuracy and reload and puts a constant stream of fire down on the enemy units. And you can see here that it was fairly effective. Now in the swooping crane formation, a bow cav will beat a bow samurai in a head-on fight. It will not beat a bow monk, but it will severely damage a bow monk. So bow cav, that's the best way. If you're going to skirmish bow cav in an open skirmish against other bow units, you can do it in the swooping crane. What's even more effective, though, is if you use the bow cav to run forward, shoot, and then dodge the enemy incoming arrows. That's another way to do it. That takes a lot more micro. So the swooping crane is kind of like a lazy micro way to let you accomplish some of that. So here I'm going to harass my opponent into attacking once again. This unit of Yari Ashigari is completely dead. Here comes all of his flanking forces running towards me. His 3 Naginata Samurai come in there. And I'm not sure what he's doing with this Yari Hero, but it's still out here in the woods. So I'm going to pull back just a little bit, let my bow cav keep working their magic. I spring a quick Yari cav assault on his Matchlock Samurai, trying to take them out of the fight. This is some of the main killing power of his army, is these Matchlock Samurai, so I have to get rid of them, because I don't want him to be able to use them effectively against me. I'm not going to get a whole lot of kills right there, but it is going to be a good quick raid. To get some of his guys killed and disrupt his incoming forces. Here I'm going to pull my Nagi attendants out of the way, let my monks take a few shots, and then I'm going to pull them out too. You're hearing me bonsai my Nodachis and starting the charge. My Nodachis are going to absolutely pwn these Yari Ashigaru, even though they don't get like the great charge here, and it's against the spear wall. Their charge is still effective, and you're going to start watching the number of these Yari Ashigaru just drop like crazy. Whenever units are losing men that fast, it affects their morale, and it makes them more prone to shattering. So you can see that my Nodachi Samurai are just absolutely slaughtering these guys. Alright, at this point, I've got more infantry on my flank to help against my opponent's outflanking troops. He's now engaged me pretty much with all his troops. There's his Yari Hero. They're all charging in on this part of my center. I've got my bow cav engaged with his Matchlock Samurai again. And I've got my Yari cav out there as well. So along the center right now, it's a pretty brutal fight. His Yari Shigaru aren't really doing all that great. They're doing okay, but they're definitely buckling. He's now reinforcing with his tougher units, his Naginata Samurai and Katana Samurai. But I've got my long Yari Shigaru now into Spear Wall, and these guys are going to just start mincing up all these guys over here. Even this Yari hero will do extremely poorly against my long Yari Ashigaru. And then they're backed up by these Naginata attendants here. So these guys are just going to get cut to pieces. So watch the kills start to climb on my long Yari. It's going to go very quick. My Bocav just pulled off a Hammer and Anvil. It's not going to be super effective, but it's going to start to whittle down the morale of my opponent's troops. And it also forces his general further on into this fight, where there's a lot of spears present. And then I'm going to pull the Bocav out not long after I Hammer and Anvil, and then I've got my Yari Cav coming in to do another. And right here, this is where the Yari Cav is kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. I hit his general in the back, and I took out that sword unit. So now my opponent has lost the center, and those units routing causes these units to waver. And so they start routing. The only unit that ends up being left is this Katana hero. And the Katana hero is tough, but when it's out surrounded that badly, it's going to lose. Back to my long Yari Ashigaru. They're already up to 85 kills and counting, and they're going to just keep destroying. Long Yari Ashigaru are a very tough unit. They've only taken 20 losses now, 20 losses and dished out like 80 or 90 kills. So anyway, good game to my opponent. Hope you enjoyed some of my strategy there. It ended up working out well for me. My opponent should have rushed earlier. That's what his army was better at. And if he would have rushed earlier, he had enough spears that he could have kept my cavalry off his flanks. And to be honest, some of my units were more prone to cavalry charges than his, like my Nodachi Samurai and stuff like that. And then he had extra spears. I mean, it would have been a tough fight one way or the other, but my opponent definitely would have been better off had he rushed me sooner rather than later, as he did. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed that. I hope you've enjoyed these battles. I'm glad to finally get to bring you some online play. I know it's been a while. Sorry, I've just been crazy busy with other things that are going on, but I will try and get you videos out just as often as I can. Let's check out the results screen on this, and then I will be signing off for the night to go get some sleep. Got another long day tomorrow. Come on. Takes forever. Stupid loading screen. I guess I could not record it, but whatever. I guess it gives you a chance to hear me ramble on, because it's so interesting to hear me ramble. Alright, come on, Shogun 2. I swear these load times take forever. Alright, there's the statistics. You can see which my units did the best. My Bocav, Nodachi all did very well. Long Yari did good. Monk Cav, or my Yari Cav. Both my Bocav got a ridiculous number of kills. So in any case, good game to my opponent. Hope you all enjoy these, like I said. Heir of Carthage, signing off for now.